Hi. So D&D is kind of like expensive sometimes. It can be kind of an expensive hobby, especially if you're living on kind of a tight budget, which most of the world is right now and throughout history. But I'm here to help you keep D&D immersive and fun, but on a budget. Let's get into the video. Number 1, resources. Welcome to the internet. The internet has so many great free resources for D&D, specifically for encounters, free monsters, stat blocks, and I'm gonna tell you a couple of them right now. So you can use these things to help you, 1, with your prep to make your prep even easier, and 2, don't tell the other books and things, but if you can't afford the books, these are great free tools that have a bunch of stat blocks and a bunch of free encounters that you can just choose from online. Number 1, Donjon. I don't know how to pronounce it, but we're gonna say that's it. That is one of the best resources I've found, and also like scouring Reddit to see what other people say for getting random encounters, monsters, just making up random things for you. So 1, if you're a busy DM on the spot, it just makes up an encounter for you if you want. And 2, it's easy for campaign prep and it's completely free and on the internet. So we're already here. Next up, I said this in my last video, Cobalt Fight Club. It's called Cobalt Fight Club, but it's called Cobalt Plus Fight Club. It's similar to Donjon. Some fantastic tools for generating random encounters, monsters, anything that you could find in D&D. And of course, I've got to mention D&D Beyond. Before I even became a D&D content creator, I've been using the free version of D&D Beyond for years, basically for all of my campaigns. It's a fantastic tool. They have all of the official monsters. They're always up to date because, hey, it's run by literal wizards of the coast. I use the encounter tracker and monster stat things all the time. Shout out D&D Beyond. Go check that out. The free version is good. Whatever you can afford, really, because that's what it's all about. Number 2, maps and map generators. If you can't afford the dry erase grid maps, which I would recommend getting if you want to spend the money, but if you can't afford it and you want to do online stuff, Incarnate is good, and also Dungeon Fog for creating random maps, map generators. They're great, and the quality is really good, so I recommend those websites if you want to do that. Or, I'm the queen of... I keep smacking myself with the sword. I am the queen of DIY. You want to know one of my favorite, like, physical DIY things? Hold the phone, hang on a second, I will be right back. Mic drop. I would never do that. This is an expensive microphone. Hold on. I have multiple ideas and suggestions for you. This is just a little printout. It's 2 pieces of paper taped together. But one of the other incredibly easy things, which I can't find it right now, but I use it actually all the time. You know folders? If you go to the dollar store, get a clear folder or get a couple clear folders and literally just cut it, open it up, and use a permanent marker to make a grid. It is now a clear grid map that you can draw on, you can do anything, and if you have a printer, you can print out any kind of scenery, any kind of dungeon map, and just put it underneath, and then you automatically have a grid. It was one of the best inventions slash innovative things I've ever done. I use it all the time now for even more immersion. That was my shoulder cracking. You're welcome. Hey now, I'm just doing show and tell. Hey now, see this plastic bag of what looks like whatever these things are? See this? This is some homemade terrain, some DIY type stuff. But I have a bunch of them, some different levels, some different heights, and what I do is I use the clear grid, print out a picture of some gravel, whatever, and then I use these to make an actual physical dungeon. And they're all literally made out of memory foam that I wasn't gonna use anymore because I think it was warped and whatever, but that's what I made these out of. It's just foam that's painted black, and then to seal it, to make sure the foam, like it kind of stayed, I got a whole bunch of clear Elmer's glue. All of this, by the way, maybe $7 for all of these for terrain that I've used for years. And I just dip them on all sides and I just let them dry, and they're great and they're squishy and I'm not worried about them like breaking. They're fine. Okay. Great, moving on. Speaking of the things that go on the terrain and are used, you know, minis, you can literally use anything to make a mini. However, if you want to have something a little bit more personalized, there's, once again, resources online like Printable Heroes and Hero Forge, where you can literally print out NPCs, characters that you make. It's really fun. So you can print those out and glue them or tape them to like bottle caps or coins. I haven't done that personally because, once again, I'm extra and I make my own minis sometimes. I made my players their own personalized minis, which I'll show you right now. This is one of my characters. Let me bring that in close. This was one of my players from a previous campaign, and yes, I made that. It is made out of oven bake polymer clay. His name is Adel, and he's a half orc. Anyways, if you have some minis, by the way, here's some more innovative DIY things for you. These are fairy wings that I made for a fae creature that I just taped on the back of one of the minis that I already owned to make it signify one of the evil fae creatures that they were going to be fighting. But it is literally just tape that I drew little squigglies and little swirls on with a little marker. Another thing that just makes it a little bit more immersive and a little bit more stylized. And if you want any like little tokens or anything, once again, made these little fire rings to signify that a player or a space is on fire. Made out of air dry clay and paint. Number whatever we're on, if you can't afford campaign books, doing homebrew until you can afford official content is great. Before I had a bunch of the official campaigns, I did homebrew for the longest time because 1, it's free, and 2, it's free. But I would recommend having the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Player's Handbook because it helps you with the rules, figure out official things before you dive into your own homebrew stuff. Those are the two I would recommend getting if you are gonna jump right into homebrew. The Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide. I mean, I'd recommend a lot of the other ones too, but if you can only afford a couple books, those two are good. Good staples and essentials to have. And finally, like, if we can be fully real for a second, you don't need to have fancy tools, fancy books, minis, terrain, really anything. You can play a fantastic D&D game with fully theater of the mind and fully homebrewed. It's a fun game that is specifically about your imagination and anything that you can create. And part of the fun with D&D, for me specifically, is creating immersion. If you're playing theater of the mind and that's all you have and you're doing homebrew stuff, honestly just dimming the lights or using your phone or using a speaker to
change the music, set the tone.
Those things really help with creating the fun and creating the immersion for your players and for yourself. You can run some of the best D&D games on a budget, and that's what I did and have still been doing for many years before I got even any of the official content. And that's not to say don't buy the official content if you have the means, because there's some fantastic stuff in there and they're good for a reason. But if you can't afford it, really just spending time with your friends and creating and living through a story and a narrative that you create or that you bring to life is the fun part about D&D. So I hope this helped, and I hope it wasn't too rambly and weird, and I hope you enjoyed, and if you watched the video this far, leave a little $sign in your comment, so that I know that you watched the full video and you watched it to the end, and I love you and you're great. I appreciate that a lot. If you got some extra cash and you would like to see more content from me, think about signing up for my Patreon. Links are down in the description below. This January, I'm posting 2 RPG spicy Reddit horror story videos on there where I talk about D&D horror stories and the extra spicy kinds, the one not safe for YouTube. And I also post bloopers and some other things on there. So if you'd like to do that or just support me, check out the links down below. And I'd like to thank all the patrons that are scrolling up the screen now. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. It means so much to me that you've stuck around and that you're still here helping me out. I really appreciate it, so thank you. That is it for this video, so I'm gonna leave it here for now. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. I'm here to help DIY you out. Ew, I hated that too. Please leave.